Hello, beautiful souls. Today, we are going to go over some human design basics in order to help you understand how to read your chart so much better. So, if you've gotten your PDF report, this is really to help you understand some of the different beautiful, unique things about human design that seem a little bit mysterious at first. And today's video, we are going to answer two main questions, and that is, how are the numbers decided and why are they placed where they're placed on our chart? And the other question we're going to look at is, what is the difference between the red numbers and the black numbers, or the red lines and the black lines in our chart? So, as we get to look at this, the human design chart is based off of the very same astrological positions that your astrological chart or birth chart is created from. They're exactly the same information used in order to create the human design, as well as the astrological wheel. The human design uses a few terms and a few names that we're going to have to get used to in order to understand what we're talking about when we're describing certain things. Some of these terms are going to be gates, channels, and centers. So when you look at the human design rave wheel, this is going to look very similar to the astrological wheel. It's almost exactly like it in the sense that you can see that it has the 12 astrological signs that go around the wheel that each hold the different placements of those signs that we are so familiar and we know how to look at our astrology sign with. But we're going to see that on the rave wheel, you can notice that on the outer edge of these 12 astrological signs, you're going to see a random arrangement of numbers. And these numbers are actually going to be very specific to their placement with the astrological sign on the chart. So, for instance, if you look at Libra on the chart, Libra is going to have the gate 50, 32, 57. It's going to have 48, 18, and 46. Now, when we get to look at these gates on there, these are always going to be the gates that respond or relate to Libra. Now, every single astrological sign has its own set of numbers, and these numbers are the gates. They correspond to something referred to as the I Ching. And even though they seem as though they're completely randomly placed on the wheel, they actually have very significant meanings. And so once we get a little bit deeper into it, it starts to make sense how each of the numbers has the very energy of the astrological sign of which it is housed within. So within this, you can also see on the outer edge of even the numbers, there's these symbols. It's very faint on here, but each of these would be the I Ching that is on the outside. But they go a little bit deeper, basically, in that they also respond to the 64 codons that we have within our body, which also relate specifically to our proteins, our amino acids, and the way our DNA communicates. The 64 gates really symbolize the path of our consciousness. And again, they're based upon the I Ching, which is a divining system, which has a flow to it, which encourages the evolution of consciousness in a lifetime. In some ways, you could see it as the path between the mundane of everyday life and evolving into realizing that we're so much more than our body as an eternal soul, and that we live on lifetime after lifetime. These 64 gates are very, very important because they each have a very specific and different energy to them. Just the fact that they're called gates is actually really beautiful as a clue for us because it helps us acknowledge that these are the gates in which our consciousness enters into our experience. Each gate has three ways in which it expresses itself, either as a shadow, a gift, or a city, which means the enlightenment state. You could imagine that if you were expressing your gate as a shadow, it would be kind of like having your gate clogged or stuck or blocked. And this is why we many times feel stuck, blocked, or held back in our life from being or doing exactly what it is we want to create or be. And the path of wisdom of this system shows us how to actually begin to unblock these different gates so that we can begin to allow our spirit to flow freely as a guiding force within our life. So now as you look at all of these gates 1 through 64, we're going to come back over here and we're going to see that each of these 1 through 64 actually are placed within one of these 9 energy centers within the human design chart. So these centers are very significant because they show us the energetic field where the gate is playing out the theme that it's expressing of these 3 variations. They can loosely be related to our chakra system, and they do symbolize a very similar energy to the 7 more common chakras that we are familiar with. So the centers, they all function a little bit uniquely. The one at the very top, if you were to look at this one on the very top, it's the head center. Now, within this, as we look at the head center, it is about receiving pressure from the cosmic realms, whereas the one on the very base is the root center. And this is about receiving pressure from our adrenals, which is the pressure to do or to get up and create something within our life. Some of the centers within our chart are actually referred to as energy centers, and they are called motors. Each and every motor within our chart completely operates differently. Now, there is motors such as the heart center, the will center. So we have the heart and the will center here. We have the emotional solar plexus here. We also have the root center is its own energy center. And as we begin to look at these, the most important motor within the chart is the sacral center. It is related to our second chakra. It is what creates the generator type. If it is defined or colored in, which we're going to get into, it would then create the aura or your type to be a generator type, either a generator or a manifesting generator. Now, it's very interesting to note this because 70% of humanity is actually a generator type, either the generator or manifesting generator type. And this is the energy to do. This is a very consistent energy within our life. And it needs to be burned out throughout the day, doing that which is in alignment with one's soul. So it's important to notice that each and every motor within the chart has a very specific purpose for providing an energy of movement so that we aren't just conscious beings coming into earth and just sitting here and doing nothing and just in this state of being, but not allowing that being to manifest and create in within this reality. We are all aspects of the creator, and it is very apparent within the energy of the creator that the creator loves to create. The infinite intelligence of the universe is always expanding and growing, creating and manifesting. And that's why these pressure centers at the top and the bottom are so important because they are the pressures to really get up and do based on the downloads from the cosmos that we receive. So now as we begin to look at this, we're going to now begin to look at the energy within the gate. So each gate is held within one of these centers. And when we see this, we're going to see that as each gate is in there, if it is defined, again, these definitions come from the astrological positions of where the planets are on the moment that we are born. And these astrological positions are very, very important because the very time we are born and the very place we are born kind of creates our own cosmic GPS navigation system throughout our life. It is what absolutely imprints us with our sacred geometry of who we are. So we get to see this within our chart. And these very astrological placements then correspond again with that gene key that corresponds to those very astrological positions or that minute, if you will, the very degree and minute of that planet as it is marked within your astrological chart. So now as we get to see this, each of the gates then represents where a planet was the very moment that we were born. And then it would then mark itself upon the chart within the center where it is represented. Now, the gates are always going to be in the same centers. They're never going to change. So the head, for instance, is always going to have the gate 64, 61, and 63. So where the gates are within the centers is always consistent. Where the gates are within the astrological signs are always consistent. What is different is just which ones are uniquely activated within your chart. So then when you see which ones are activated for you, for instance, this is going to be the gate 33. And this is the current astrological wheel for right now, but we could see the gate 33 here. And we would know that the gate 33 is actually down here in the throat center. It would be in this throat center energy here. So this Leo energy of gate 33 is in the throat center. And when that gate is activated, it creates something that is called a line. Now, these channels that are here in the chart are very, very important. This is the next thing we're going to look at on the chart. When you can see that a gate is activated, it will create half of a channel across this line here. And what it wants to do is to connect to the other side. But we can see that the gate 33 over here is not connected to the gate 13. So it would be referred to as something in human design as a hanging gate. Now, we could see that there are certain ones that if, for instance, it is activated on one side, and if you follow the channel over to the other side and see that there is a gate also activating that side, the two halves complete one entire channel, and that creates an entire completed circuitry of energy within your chart. So these channels, all of these lines within the chart are very important because they truly symbolize the circuitry or the way energy flows between our centers within our life and how these energies connect in order to complete a way for that energy to express itself out into the world. And all of the places that we only have half the channel or a hanging gate are going to be places within your chart that you get to look at as places where your energy is reaching out into the world and wanting to connect with others in order to complete those channels. And the way that we complete them is through collaborations, doing projects together, having relationships, those interactions that we have as we socialize, as we connect with projects, as we connect with ways in which we are manifesting out into the world. Those are the ways that our channels become complete, even if they're not complete on our individual chart. We, from the human design perspective, are meant to be connecting with humanity so that it isn't just about our evolutionary path, but it's truly about the evolutionary path of humanity as a whole. How do we evolve as a species in our consciousness so we move beyond the base selfishness patterns that we have inherently within us of protecting ourselves, making sure that we're okay, making sure that we're taken care of, making sure that our fears or insecurities are taken care of? And where do we begin to heal those blocks and those shadows and those places that hold us back within so that we can become more aware of our evolution into our unity consciousness as a species? So this is that uniqueness that we have within there. So as we get to look at this, the gates are activated by the placement that the planets were the very moment that you were born. Where the gates are activated within the centers are going to then create that half of a channel that is wanting to make a connection to the other side of that channel in the other center on the other side. The places where we have complete channels, this is where we have a defined or a set current of energy that we are operating as within our life. The places where we have hanging gates within our chart are going to be places where we are going to be needing to connect with others in order to complete those channels, in order to understand ourselves better and to have a better way for that completion of our projects and of our life's experience to take place upon this life. So as we get to see this now, we're going to realize human design operates very uniquely in that if the channels make a complete connection to each other, then what happens is then these channels define both centers on either side. When these channels complete the connection on either side, it colors in the centers. These colored in centers then have a way in which they have a set way of expressing themselves within our life. So as we get to look at these centers then will be ones that are referred to within human design as defined, meaning that you have a set way you work your energy within them. But all the other centers in the chart that might only have hanging gates or no gates activated in them at all are going to be completely open or white. And when those are open or white, those are referred to as undefined. The undefined centers within our chart in human design are considered the places where we are here to truly learn our life lessons. They are many times referred to as our teachers or the ways in which we are here to learn more about ourselves because they truly are empathic centers where we absorb the energy of others around us through them. And when we do, in the beginning part of our life, before we start to begin our path of know thyself, many times it's going to feel like these centers are overwhelming, like we don't know who we are because we overly absorb others' energy in the world around us. But as we begin to start to learn to create healthy permissions within our life, we start to learn how to know thyself, know who we are so we don't absorb other people's energy within our field. But then we allow ourselves to go ahead and have the ability to use those centers to empathize in a very healthy way with what others are going through so that we can have a feel sense of our thoughts, our feelings, and emotions, and how they play upon others. And also, really, quite being beautiful empaths as far as being great nurturers for others around us. But again, we are not here to do the work for others. It doesn't mean that we're here to fix anyone just because you feel it. It just means that you can empathize and sympathize for what another is experiencing. And then from that, be a mirror for them so that they can begin to find the wisdom within themselves. And that is the beauty of that. In the beginning of our life, these places are the energy centers within our life where we find ourselves more inundated by other people's energy. And sometimes it washes over us and we feel buried by that. And this is our path to growth. That is why the open centers are called our teachers, because they teach us how to start to filter out everybody else's energy so that we still come into a base solidarity of who we are. And then from that solidarity, we then begin to learn how to be our truest radiance within ourself, of mastering that empathy, healthy empathy, yet still maintaining our sacred permissions of what we allow into our space. So that is the important energy to understand about some of those aspects that you are looking about at on your chart. So that is the understanding of what are gates, how they are determined, why they are placed within the certain centers that they are. Our centers, again, are very similar to chakra centers. Each of the centers has energy circuits between them, which are called channels. And the channels always want to connect the energy between them in order for the energy to healthily begin to activate those centers so that we can express ourselves and our truth within this lifetime. Now, as we get to look at that, we also want to then see what is our defined centers and what are our undefined centers, knowing that our defined centers can still have a lot of shadow, but primarily they're the places that we are holding our own unique signature, not so much wavered by others, but the open centers are where we become more easily influenced by our environment and others around us. And so it's where they are our teachers teaching us how to not be swayed by others, but learn to come into your own center so that you can become that healthy, empathetic empathy to the world around you. That is the beauty of that energy. So now let's look at what is the difference between the red side and the black side. So the black side of the chart is going to be all of the energy that is based upon the planetary alignments on the day that you were born. This is referred to as your personality side, and it corresponds to your soul and your soul's purpose. It is the radiance of who your soul is desiring you to step up and be. Now, it does hold a lot of karmic imprints in it, but primarily it's showing all of the patterns you are here to break free from. And then on the flip side, what is the healthy radiance and expression that you can be within those planetary alignments? Those are all again based and correspond to the very exact degrees and placements that you would see on your astrological wheel or your birth chart. So when you look at the personality or the column in black numbers on your human design chart, you could actually overlay that over your astrological birth chart and see that they match up perfectly. Now, within this, when we look at human design also takes into consideration the design energy, which is the physicality that we are born into. So, another way to look at the column on the left hand side, which is called design, is also to look at it as our subconscious, our deep subconscious, our karmic patterns, the karma and the programming that is held within our body, and also the energy from the very GPS location or the land where you were born. So, the red actually holds within it the energy from our design or our design crystal. It represents the agreement that your soul made with the design crystal of the earth, the core crystal of the earth or earth mother. And then from that agreement, it's really the energy of the body template that was gifted to you from the earth and all of its programming that it has within it that might be based on all kinds of things that have happened upon the earth. The earth history is quite diverse, and we're all called here to this life experience in many ways to be the very karma resolution through our body and through our life to help not only bring into balance the challenges that our soul has maybe been on in many lifetimes, but also to bring into balance many of the pains, traumas, and karmas that the earth has been holding through the many, many millennia of experiences of humanity upon her earth. So, as we get to look at this, our life truly can be a beautiful gift. And not only are we bringing a tremendous amount of empowerment to ourselves, but a tremendous amount of empowerment to how we be a gift to the earth planetary consciousness. So, on the design side, it's very important for us to get to experience it because it is based upon the signatures in our astrological wheel, if you will, of about 88 degrees or 3 months before we were born. It's a very specific timestamp or signature, and it's the very same planets. So it's just a timestamp of where the stars and planets were about 88 degrees before we were born. And that is the energy that is held within our deep subconscious blueprint. Within the design side, it holds not only how we take care of our body, our purpose in life, our karma, our dharma, our core wound, our our beautiful stamp or signature that we're here to live upon the earth. We might call this our legacy that we are here to leave. And within it, it really truly holds for us the greater signature of our many cycles of our soul. So the design side is very, very important. It tends to hold a lot more of the shadow aspects to it. And it is such a deep subconscious energy that it truly is the gifts that we have to learn to uncover through our journeys into ourself. Those journeys of self awareness and know thyself really are the places that we begin to uncover. That every place within the design side that has that significant signature, such as our karma, is actually the places that begin to show us our dharma. Our core wound begins to show us the work that we're here to be once we flip it and heal it within ourselves. So the red on our chart is actually very important for us to look at. And upon your chart, you can actually take a snapshot or a viewpoint of looking at just your chart from the perspective of just the design. And then you can even see it from just the personality or the soul aspect of who you are here to be in this lifetime, what you are choosing to utilize as a gift to pull those radiances forward. So, truly, the ones that are in red on your chart are the hidden gifts that you get to uncover. It is the deep gifts, the ancestral gifts that we might be holding from our ancestral lineage or our family tree that might have been expressing itself as pain or sorrow or trauma or wounds or insecurities for a very long time. that we get to uncover that and deep at the core find the radiance, the beauty, the healing potential, the power, the courage, the ingenuity, all of the beautiful qualities that our ancestors have held, but might have just been wounded a bit by a lot of the traumas that have taken place through our Earth history. So your entire life truly is a gift on a bigger level than just you as who you are in this lifetime. You have the potential to quantify all that you become within this life, to influence all generations behind you and all generations before you. So your soul truly is here to live as a quantum radiance of your legacy and how you get to be that. And so, with so much love, I hope this helps a little bit to begin to understand a little bit more about some of the different aspects upon your chart, how to read them, and where they come from. And we will continue this journey in more of these videos in order for you to understand the little details about human design so you can learn to read your own blueprint better and better. Thank you so much for letting me share this with you. Thank you.